And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, Ryan Metzler here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a little bit of a basic resource management game, I guess you could call it, and that is Fruit Fair, which is a game for 3 to 5 players. Now, this game was kindly provided by the people at BoardGameExchange.com, where you can try games before you buy them. So now that I've given you a brief intro of the game, what it's all about, why don't we take a look at what comes inside the box, how the game plays, and what my thoughts are on it. So here you see the board for Fruit Fair, and this is set up for 3 players. It doesn't vary much for 4 or 5 players, but this is the basic setup. And what you see here are 4 different trees with different fruits on them. And the fruits are these little round pieces. They're really kind of inconvenient if you dump them out. They roll around a little bit. But once you've got them set down, they're not too bad. And these are going to be fruits that you're trying to pick in order to sell at the fair. And you're going to do so by using cards. And each player is going to have a hand of cards. And the game is going to take place over turns, which have 5 phases. And your hand of cards consists of several things. The first thing you have is you have a set of 4 cards here. You have 1 for each different type of fruit on the different types of trees. You also have 2 fruit pickers and 2 fruit planters. And these are going to make up your hand. So you're going to have a hand of 8 cards. And at the beginning, you're going to go through phase 1. And phase 1 is assigning workers. And how this is going to work is that you are going to take your cards and you're going to decide which fruits you would like to plant. So for example, let's say that my player wants to pick lemons. So what he's going to do is he's going to take this lemon card, and behind it he's going to put 2 pickers. So this would mean that on his turn he wants to pick 2 lemons. Alright? Then, let's say he wants to plant apples. So he wants to plant an apple. He's going to take his apple, he's going to put 1 planter behind it, and he wants to plant maybe a cherry. So he's going to take a cherry, and he's going to put his last planter behind that. And he would have these cards in his hand in this order. His last card wouldn't really matter at all, but he has lemon, pick, apple, plant, cherry, plant. And so he's going to put these face down, and when it gets to his turn, he'll be revealing those. And that's going to be phase 1, is assigning workers in that manner. Phase 2 is a phase called Raccoon Eats. And what happens here is that there's a raccoon inherent in the game who is going to be eating different things. And so at the beginning of the game, nobody plays the raccoon. And the raccoon is going to randomly eat 2 fruits. And he'll have a deck of cards with 1 of each of the fruits in it. And he'll shuffle it, and he'll reveal 2 cards. So let's say, for example, he reveals a lemon and an apple. And so he would eat a lemon and an apple off of the trees, and they would go in the raccoon area. After this, you're going to go on to phase 3, which is the picking and planting phase. So you've chosen your workers, but now you want to pick and plant. And so you're going to go through in turn order, and turn order at the beginning of the game is randomly assigned with these tiles, so you just shuffle them and deal them out to players. So let's say I'm player 1. And I'm going to look at what those cards were that I set earlier, and everybody's going to reveal their cards, and you're going to do what you've set up to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 2 lemons. And I would take these lemons off the tree and I would put them in my play area. So now I have 2 lemons. I am then going to plant 1 apple. So I have extra apples, and they're going to get planted. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to move to the wheelbarrow. And planting will happen at the end of the turn. I'm also going to plant a cherry. So a cherry is going to go there as well. And then the next player would go and they would do their actions. Let's say they decided to pick a plum and an apple, and the other player decided to pick 2 cherries, and maybe they planted a plum and another plum and a lemon and an apple. Alright, so everybody's taken their turn with the picking and the planting, and now all of the things that are on the planting area are going to go back onto the trees. So another cherry goes back up top, these 2 apples go up, a lemon, and these 2 plums. So now we have extra stuff on the trees, and the trees can hold as much fruit as they want. And that's phase 3. And then phase 4 would be going to the fair, and going to the fair is going to be how you're going to earn points. And what you're doing is you're trading in the fruit that you've picked in order to get stuff from the fair. Now, you'd think these are color-coded. You can see that there's colors for each of these different things. They're all different ribbons that you can win, and they have point values. And you'd think they might correspond to the different types of fruit, but they don't. So essentially, you're going to have to trade in an amount of fruit equal to whatever the number of pips is on the board for the item that you want. And there are prizes for gold, silver, blue, green, and red. Red being the least value and gold being the highest value, but you don't know what they are because they're chosen secretly at the beginning of the game. The reds cost a minimum of 4 pips, which would be 4 fruits, and this goes all the way up to the gold costing a maximum of 10 for this highest point value one here. Well, it may not even be the highest point value, but for the highest one, potentially. And so you would pay whatever fruit you needed. So let's say that I had acquired 4 fruit. I'm going to turn my 4 fruit in, and I can take this lowest valued red chip, and it is the 10 value chip. Not too bad. I have 10 points now, and I would keep this secret from everybody else until the end of the game. There's another option on your turn that you can spend fruit on, and that's going to be to get extra workers. So these are extra pickers and extra diggers, or planters. And so when you get these, you're going to be able to take them and add them to your hand, and you'll be able to do more picking and planting on your turn. They cost either 5, 4, or 3, depending on how quick you get to them. Finally, after Phase 4, you're going to move on to Phase 5, which is assigning special tiles. First thing you do is you're going to look at each of these trees, and you'll see at the base of the trees there's a tile. And these tiles are going to get awarded to the player who has the most of that color fruit currently in their inventory. So whoever has the most blue fruit is going to be first in the next turn. And then whoever has the second most blue fruit is going to be second, third most blue fruit third. The truck here is going to allow you to, after you've picked your workers and revealed them, rearrange your workers in your hand. So you can completely change what you want to do on your turn when you have this tile. And it's going to go to whoever has the most greens. The raccoon, as I mentioned earlier, is going to allow you to first choose which fruits get eaten during the raccoon phase, and second, it's going to give you a discount on buying things. So when you decide to go buy a prize from the fair by turning in fruit, it's going to get you each of these at a -2 fruit cost. Additionally, anytime you go to buy a worker, it's going to be at a -1 fruit cost. And then finally, we have the migrant worker tile. And this is essentially just going to allow you 1 extra pick from any tree that still has fruit at the end of your turn. So you can set up all of your picks and your plants, and then you can choose 1 more when you have this tile. These are going to change every round based on who has the most fruit at the end of the turn, and then a new turn is going to start. And essentially you're going to keep picking fruit and trading it in to get points until there's 5 of these extra prizes left on the table, and then everybody's going to get 1 more turn, and then the game will end. And whoever has the most victory points in the terms of these chips is going to win the game. So that's Fruit Fair, and it's a pretty simple game about picking fruit and trading it in. And so essentially you're just gathering resources and trading them in for goods. It's not real deep, obviously. There's not a whole lot of strategy except for trying to pick fruits that maybe aren't there anymore. Because if you pick fruits that are no longer available, you can actually take a fruit from somebody else, if I remember correctly. But essentially it's just about getting enough fruit to trade it in for prizes. There's really not that much to it. There's no trying to have the right color of fruit or making sure you have enough of 2 different types of fruit to trade in. It's just volume of fruit for points. And even then, you don't know what points you're getting when you trade them in. So it's not a deep strategic game, but it is a game which might teach resource management style to a newer gamer, or be good for a child who's you're trying to get into gaming, who doesn't want to have to deal with multiple different resources, but really just the concept of getting stuff and trading it in for points. So not a terrible game. I see that it definitely has a market in the lighter gamers, but not one that I would seek out to play for myself.
To try this title and over 800 others before you buy them, check out BoardGameExchange.com.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Yeah?